All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Welcome, 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 good people. Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. It just got super bright in here. Hold on. Let me turn that down a little bit. But what's happening, folks? How's everybody doing, man? I hope everybody's doing good on this wonderful Tuesday evening. A unique Tuesday again, where I did not commute to work today. I'm actually going tomorrow, so I'm going to be a little more Speedy Gonzalez with the show. But what's happening, folks? How's everybody doing? How are you guys holding up, man, in this lull period? It's killing me. I ain't going to lie to you. It's killing me. It's killing me, man. I got to get more and more content out. I just haven't had the desire to do anything. Not the Steelers stuff, but just other stuff. I know a lot of people look forward to other things that I try to do via YouTube, dibbling, dabbling with TikTok as well. I just gotta pick up the pace, because it's such a dead period right now, man. But I hope everybody's doing well. Let's say hello to some of the early commenters. And honestly, guys, I don't even have any real topics. I really don't. It's open. It's open season tonight. I got the queue open for anybody who wants to jump in and say a few words. Y'all know the routine. We'll keep it short, try to keep it to a minimum of 2 minutes. Let me put that in the chat really quick. Give me a second. Hold on, guys. Give me a quick second. Here we go. Paste that in the chat. Hopefully that shows up on you guys' end. Let me make sure. Yep, there it is. So yeah, if anybody wants to call in, we chop it up for a few minutes, man. So let's just see who we got up in here. My guy, CT Pittman is in the building. Infamous Tim is in the building. Steeler Cards in the building. Lyle McCombs is in the building. Mark Cunningham is in the building. Victory Asher, what's up, man? He says, you ain't the only one feeling disconnected. Yeah, we're going to get into it. He's in the building as well. David McLeod is in the building. Who else is up in here? My good brother Kenyon is in the building. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Wyatt Diggy is in the building. Kev So Fun is in the building as well. And that's about all we got as far as the chat. Like I said, guys, y'all know the routine, man. Y'all know around this time, it's very slow, low period. We don't get the same viewership. It's all good. I keep trucking through all of that. So not as many of you guys in here tonight, but I respect and appreciate everybody who is here. Listen, man, we got, free agency coming next week. We got the draft coming next month, so it will pick back up a little bit, and then we will go into the low period again. But y'all know we'll keep it trucking. Speaking of next week, and I'm going to try to remind myself to say this at the end of the show for anybody who will miss it, I will be away next Tuesday. Yeah, no, I won't. I'm tripping. I'll be able to do Tuesday. I will be able to do Tuesday, but I'm going out of town. One of our early vacations that my wife and the group that we always travel with, we're going to Carousel from the 11th to the 16th. So actually, I'll be back. So hold on, guys. Let me look at the calendar. At first, I thought I wasn't going to be able to get a show out. But I think we'll be able to make it happen. Hold on, Captain. Hold on. Let me make sure. Let me look at my dates. The 11th is Wednesday. Yeah. So, the 10th, I'll be here. And then I'll be back on. Yeah. So what am I talking about? We won't miss a show. So I'll see you guys next week. But let's get back to it. Listen. I feel very disconnected from these Steelers, man. And I'm going to explain to you why. I'm just going to throw a couple topics out there to y'all right now. Like I said, various topics. Tonight's show is going to be quick hitters. I really don't have a whole lot to delve into because there's not a lot. So I'm pulling information from things that I'm seeing from other places. Let's talk about one thing that Ben Roethlisberger gave his idea in terms of what the Steelers needs to do in order to fix the offense, so to speak. Let's see, what does he have here? So he's talking about, he said, To Roethlisberger, that kind of risk isn't a bad thing. It leads to a couple of down years. He thinks that could help the Steelers in the long run. Okay. So basically it's saying, first and foremost, they need to find their next franchise quarterback, obviously. And Ben Roethlisberger says, I'm going to read this whole thing, guys, because it's a fairly short article. Shout out to Steelers Depot. They said, those answers aren't very clear this offseason, especially at quarterback. Rodgers is the Steelers' first priority, but it's obviously not the future of the position. Malik Willis is enticing yet potentially expensive and definitely risky in free agency. The Steelers could roll with Will Howard, an idea that Roethlisberger supports, but there's always risks when you hand the keys to a 6th-round pick. But Ben Roethlisberger is saying this: are you okay with having 1 or 2 subpar under 500 years? In order to have something in the next 3 to 5 that can, hey, we have a real shot here. So personally, I'm okay being like, let's build this team, let's get our hiccups, says Roethlisberger. He says you can build so that in 3 to 5 years, it's like, hey, we're one of the favorites. He also said, well, maybe it's time that they build up this offense and spend a lot of money on offense. Roethlisberger said, of course, Roethlisberger always focused on the offense. I get it. He says, focus on the offense and then fill in your defense. So, guys, honestly, and, you can go hear it for yourself. I didn't watch that particular pod from Ben Roethlisberger. I usually catch a lot of his pods. But it's kind of the same thing I've been saying. He kind of supports what I've been saying about what the Steelers need to do. And if the fan base, I ask if you guys are going to support it. The real problem that I think that has come from Mike Tomlin, and also before Mike Tomlin, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the Steelers are on a 21-year streak, right? Or 22. It's either, or 23. It's one of those years, but it's a few years before Tomlin came that they're on this long streak. Obviously, Tomlin played a huge part in it, but they're on this long streak of not having a losing season, right? And with that comes a lot. It comes not having the great draft picks, right? It comes with not being in position to get these marquee projected guys, right? It comes with a lot. And I think having those consecutive winning seasons, it has forced the fan base to always expect the team to be in a position to compete. I also feel like a lot of these years, even in the Mike Tomlin years, it gave Steelers fans false optimism, thinking that they were going to compete and go further than they did, right? But because of that, nobody is open to the idea of the Steelers not being so great for a couple years while they go through their hiccups. It's going to have to take that, in my opinion. The Steelers are going to have to draft a guy or go with the Will Howard, or all in all, if they don't believe they have their franchise guy in free agency, which there's limited options there. Again, a Malik Willis, whether you think he's franchise material or not, that's a prime candidate, quote unquote. I got the quote fingers up because of his age. You would want your future franchise guy to be relatively younger, under 30 if possible, so you could build on that. There's not a whole handful of those guys. I'm going to talk about another one here in just a moment, right? So either you do that, or you're going to have to draft a quarterback and you allow him and Will Howard to compete, and you bring in a veteran that's just there as a security blanket, not to start. You can't bring in another guy like a Rodgers or somebody like that where you're expecting them to be your starter for the next year and then this guy takes over. No. The reason why I say no is because, guys, at this point, you need to just throw them out there. I know that sounds crazy, but what do they have to lose? Seriously. And what franchise, what veteran guy have we really brought in just to be the guy that's going to help the other guys along? Even though it sounds like Aaron Rodgers, took a liking to Will Howard, I'm just saying it can't be a guy like that, because a guy like Aaron Rodgers is potentially going to start the whole season. It needs to be a guy that can coax the young boy along, whether it's Will Howard or a draft guy. And then you really start fusing this guy in mid-season or down the stretch so he can roll into having his feet wet, and then you kick it off the next season. They have to start that process. That's just my opinion. What else do they have to lose? But again, it's because of the fan base expecting them to compete all the time. Nobody is going to accept these losing seasons potentially, these rough patches potentially. And that's a problem. But that's what it's going to take. So I'm kind of on the same fence, man, as what Ben Roethlisberger is saying. I mean, listen, you got to stop being gun shy, and you got to pull some triggers at the quarterback position. That's just my position. Now, here's the next thing. I'm seeing the name of Kyler Murray getting tossed around. Guys, I want to ask y'all in the chat, how y'all feel about that? I'm not even going to give my opinion yet. How do you guys feel about Kyler Murray being the Steelers quarterback? And once you guys answer that, I'm going to ask y'all another question about Kyler Murray and Malik Willis. I'm going to allow some of you guys to answer first. CT Pittman says no. Artist Hahn says no. Kev So Fun says no. Kenyon says hell no. The infamous Tim says, I like Murray, but not as a Steeler quarterback. The North is too tough, and he's too little. I think he's a great option at quarterback, rehab for someone else. Steeler Card says he's going to go to the Vikings. Okay. Metallica Freak says Murray equals complacency. Big Rick McD says no. Okay. All right. Dave Wayne says he'll take Kyler as a backup. Okay. All right. And Victory Asher says no as well. So nobody is big on Kyler Murray, and I'm in agreement with you guys. Here's the next question. Considering how much it could potentially cost, where do you guys stand with Malik Willis? Because it was going to cost you with Kyler Murray as well. Maybe not, because Kyler Murray is getting a bag from, I think the Cardinals owe him like $38 million. So you could essentially do the Russell Wilson with Kyler Murray, but we all agree we don't want to do that. But how do you guys feel about Malik Willis, what his contract could potentially be, and him becoming the Steelers quarterback? Victory Action says Malik equals yes. Okay, at the price point? Leonard Green says it reads desperation. Okay. Murray has played better than Willis. Price equal, I'm going Murray. Okay, I understand that, Tim. Kev So Fun says no. CT says, I'm not sold on Willis either. I want to get a QB out of the mud. Okay. Metallica Freak says Willis needs to be under 30 million. Yeah. Not sure it will be, but. Dave says, I wouldn't mind gambling on Malik Willis. I think pairing with McCarthy could be good. Okay. But are you guys good with Malik at 30 million or more? Because you know that's what they're shooting for. Guys, we know the quarterback market. We know the quarterback market. Malik Willis is going to get paid from somebody to be a starter. Starter money is going to probably warrant him about 30 million a year. All right, so most of you guys are saying you would be willing to take a chance if the price is right. So if we assume that the price isn't right, what options does it leave the Steelers? Like, honestly, outside of Kyler Murray or Malik Willis, let's say we're out on both of them. What options does it leave the Steelers at quarterback? Seriously. You might as well take a chance with Will Howard and someone else and let them compete. Let them play and see what they're going to be. And the Steelers have done this to themselves. They've done it to themselves. Where they backed themselves into this corner. Where there's really no other options. You either overpay for a small guy in stature, or you could potentially overpay for a sample size guy like Malik Willis. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to be crazy with your money, what other options do you have? I know these are not normal circumstances, but this is the reason why I say, yo, you give Will Howard a try. You bring a guy in that can compete with him, or draft a guy and just roll with the young crop and just be okay with saying, all right, we're going to start a franchise here. Let's see if we can get something out of one of these guys. It might take us a couple years to build what we want. That's really the only choice you have, bro. Yeah, you're right. The NIL did change it, but again, I still just feel like the Steelers kind of put themselves in this situation, man, with the way they've approached the whole quarterback position anyway. And they had to take their shot in the dark with Kenny Pickett of all drafts, where the worst quarterback draft we had seen in a long time. And it just backfired, man. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's see. What else do I have? I don't think I have anything else. I do see we have at least one call in the queue, so I'll get to that here in a second. Did I have anything else before I got to my primary point? Hold on, guys. Let me keep looking. I think that's about it. Like I told y'all, man, it's slow period. It's a slow period. It ain't a whole lot to talk about right now. Let me throw some quick names out there at you guys. Chris Canty is saying that the Steelers should consider Daniel Jones. How y'all feel about that? I think it was Chris Canty. It just says Canty in the report. It says another tag. The Colts are placing the transition tag on Daniel Jones per sources. The transition tag is $37 million. More than $6 million cheaper than the quarterback franchise tag, but gives Jones the opportunity to sign an offer sheet for another team that Indianapolis would then have to match. But then here we go. That's a lot of money for Daniel Jones. But I've seen some people say, and I think Canty is saying, you bring him in, let him compete with Will Howard. But dog, are y'all looking to pay $37 million or more for Daniel Jones? I'm asking you guys. Let me see what y'all got. Right, coming off an injury. You see what I'm saying? This is the problem, good people. It is in fact the market that's going to kill the Steelers in the long run. We're going to end up overpaying for somebody, or they're going to have to just draft a kid. Or no, this ain't the year to draft a kid. They're going to have to really just go with a cheaper veteran to push Will Howard or to be a security blanket. And they're going to have to throw their dice on the table, all in on Will Howard. Because everything else is just going to price us out. It's just not going to make sense to spend that kind of money. I did see another interesting one. Some beat writer said Mike Evans makes a lot of sense in Pittsburgh. What y'all think about that? Mike Evans opposite DK Metcalf. Would you rather do that, or would you, go in the draft and go get you a guy? Night Rider says, no, I'm good on Mike Evans. Yeah, Mike Evans is nice, but, an older, aging guy. I mean, what you going to pay for him is the question. Yeah, we need to get young. I'm with you. I'm with you, light-skinned Jesus. We need to get young. Yes. I'm with most of you guys. Go in the draft. Absolutely, Kenyon. Yeah. See, I'm just throwing these things out here with you guys, man, because, these are the names and stuff that always come up. And I just be trying to share it with you guys, my family. Like, every time a name, somebody is cut or released, everybody, the huge fan base of Steeler Nation always brings up these names. And I'm like, some of these guys are just names, bruh. It don't always make the best sense from a football standpoint or monetarily. It just doesn't. I seen people talking about Trey Hendrickson today, and I'm like, dog, Trey Hendrickson is not a 3-4 edge rusher. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Every name that pops up, people are going to say the Steelers need to do this, Steelers need to do that. All right, so I just want to throw those couple names at y'all, man. And the last thing I got before I grab any call that's in the queue, I don't know about you guys, man. This is a very weird offseason to me at the moment. I don't feel connected to the Steelers, man. I don't. And maybe we were spoiled with the way we saw it done in the Tomlin regime, where it just always felt like we were hearing things. And like Steelers Depot would say, the blues clues, right? As far as like, I know pro days and stuff like that haven't happened yet, but it's just the coverage that we would get from the combine. And also hearing about a lot of these conversations. And again, there's some stories coming out saying that the Steelers have had some meetings with a couple of guys like Caleb Downs. Unfortunately, they're finding some injury history with him. But it just doesn't have the same, doesn't feel the same. We always heard about Tomlin's regime and, him and his staff going to a lot of these all-star games and, college all-star games, and we're not hearing any of that. It's kind of like blah. It feels very blah. And like I said, maybe because it's the start of a new, who knows how Mike McCarthy and company will run the show. It just feels disconnected, man. I don't know how to explain it. I'm curious if you guys feel the same. It just feels weird. It just feels like I don't know anything. Like usually there's some buzz happening right around free agency, and it ain't nothing. It's next week. It's next week. But usually the way Tomlin and his staff move, we could kind of tell what the Steelers might have been thinking and things like that. But it doesn't even feel the same, man. So yeah, I just feel disconnected, man. I really do. The only thing that came out of, the combine weekend is they said the Steelers are showing a lot of interest at wide receiver, as I would imagine. So I am a little excited about that, to see what they do in free agency first and foremost, who they may target in the draft. I think some of my early positions for draft, and I'm not necessarily ranking first round, second round, third round. It's a glaring need, I think, at the safety position. There's rumor out there saying that the Steelers plan to, stick it out and keep Jalen Ramsey on staff. And I would imagine that Jalen Ramsey still would get some playing time at safety, may move back into the slot. You would imagine Deshaun Elliott's going to come back. You don't know what's going to happen with Kyle Duggar. So we still need safety help and depth, right? So that's a position I'm looking at in the draft. Potentially a cornerback at some point I'm looking at in the draft. Absolutely wide receivers. I'll put an S on that. Maybe you get double dip. Might want to look at a left guard. Other than that, I can't really say who the first round guy should be. We don't need to rush to get a pass rusher, I don't believe. We don't need to necessarily rush to get an inside backer. Tackle position could be interesting as far as offense because, there's some speculation coming out about Broderick Jones. And some of the guys currently on the roster, the Steelers don't expect to keep. So there's some interesting components here, man. I think this free agency, although I believe the GM makes more of the decisions, it will be interesting to see how this free agency goes with a new coaching staff and see what type of weight the coaching staff has on guys that we will go after and acquire. So that might give us a little peek next week, and we'll see what the Steelers have up their sleeve. Omar Khan kind of alluded to, hey, you know, we got money. We got options. He even said we may do some things you're not accustomed to seeing. That's interesting, so let's keep our eyes out on that. If I'm not mistaken, I think somebody said the Steelers might be in the top 3, I think, at cap space. I think somebody said they may be number 2. So it's going to be very interesting, man, to see how they approach it. Again, this is all new to everybody, so we shall see how it goes, man. But, yeah, I just don't feel connected, man. Let's see. Big Rick says, for me, the disconnection is no trust in the process and not caring anymore. I feel you, man. The only difference is you know, that it's a new process. This is about to be a brand new process that none of us have seen before. Knight Rider says, I figured it's going to be an adjustment period for this new coaching staff. Very true. Very true. Very true. Emery Underwood says, this is the first Steelers podcast I've tuned into since the McCarthy hire. I tried to stay away from the Steelers news right now because all of it is rumors or what ifs. He says, I'm just waiting to see what happens. Yeah, I'm with you. You know, and really just trying to make some type of small talk for us guys. Like, you know, we all know this is the slow period right now. But I'm 100% with you, man. We got to see how it transpires. Tim says, we have a new everything. We knew how we drafted and the types of players we signed. Think about it. The past 8 drafts, we basically could narrow it down to 1 or 3 guys we knew we would draft for sure. Now, nope. Exactly. So it just, you know, again, me saying I feel disconnected is not necessarily it's not necessarily a bad thing. I just feel disconnected. You know, I don't feel it's new. You know, we getting to know her right now. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Had a few dates, but you know what I mean? You don't feel that chemistry yet. And with the old regime, we had that chemistry. We knew exactly what we was getting and appreciated everything that we got and you know, even appreciated the things that we didn't like. Now it's all brand new for us. So, yeah, I just don't feel connected right now, man. Yeah, I'm giving it a chance, Leonard. Like I said, I'm not complaining. It's just stating the obvious. Just feels weird, you know. So I'm really looking forward to, guys. On the contrary, like I'm really looking forward to seeing what this new regime is all about. I told y'all that. Who knew it would come this soon? But I told y'all the day that Mike Tomlin is no longer the head coach and that coaching staff is no longer in place, that I would treat the new head coach the exact way. And you guys are going to see that. I'm going to give him the same grace and criticism that I gave to Mike Tomlin. It is not going to change. I'm going to judge him for head coaching things, and I'm going to judge players on what I think player things are. And as far as the staff and who they put together, we all got to wait and see. I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I really am interested to see what is going to happen at the quarterback position. That's primary. That's going to tell me a lot, man, as far as how they approach that. Because, again, you heard Art Rooney, you know, we don't necessarily believe in rebuild. All right, that's not the way, man. I understand you want to continue to be a winner, but you got to be willing to do what you don't want to do so you can do what you really want to do. You know, you have to do the things that you have to do in order to do what you want to do. So that's going to require you really stripping down, rebuilding, starting from scratch to find your next future franchise quarterback. So we'll see. This first free agency will tell me a lot as far as, you know, how they're trying to approach it. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. But all right, guys, we got 2 in the queue. Y'all know the routine, man. You know, keep it to a short minimum, but I'd definitely love to hear you guys' thoughts. It looks like we had the infamous Tim in first, so I'll bring him on, and then after these good fellas are done, man, I think we can go ahead and wrap this one up. So first and foremost, let me turn up the volume so I can hear Tim, and actually let me turn this music down on my side. Hold on, guys. There we go. All right, first up, we have the infamous Tim. What you got for us?
Hey, Sam, I hope you can hear me. If our
Yes,
only
sir.
options at quarterback are, bringing in a new guy to compete with Will Howard, you mentioned Malik Willis, Kyler Murray, and Daniel Jones. One guy that I think a lot of people are forgetting. You guys might not like my opinion on this, but if we're going to take a flyer on someone, I would take a former top 10 pick at super cheap. I would go get Anthony Richardson. You could probably get him for a 5th or 6th round pick. Now, I know what you're going to say. He waved out of a game. He's got some accuracy problems, but I think he was a project quarterback coming into the league, and they forced him to start fresh out. Kyler Murray is a free agent, so he's going to demand upwards of $30 million. The same with Malik Willis. When you're a backup quarterback and people forget about you, then you pop off for 1 or 2 games. Someone's going to overpay for you. We've seen this happen hundreds and hundreds of times, and it rarely ever works out. I don't really want to take an expensive flyer on someone. I'm all for taking a cheap flyer on someone. But again, I would bring in, a veteran quarterback. But what I personally want is for the Steelers to use their draft capital, maybe just accumulate some draft capital, maybe not this year, maybe a different year, but I would prefer to trade up and go get a quarterback. I'm going to say some draft classes, and I want people to pay attention to more the prospects rather than the players they turned out to be, because in the draft, you don't know who they're going to turn out to be. The draft that had C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, the draft that had Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, the draft that had you had Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the draft that had Kyler Murray in them. All those drafts that had in common where there were multiple quarterbacks that had legitimate first-round grades on them. Previous drafts, we've had Cam Ward, the only real quarterback with a first-round grade. I think the Giants, reached for Jackson Dart. We had the Kenny Pickett draft where he was not really even had a first-round grade on him. We reached to go get Kenny Pickett. In this draft, I don't think Ty Simpson has a true first-round grade on him. I think he more has a positional value grade on him because he's a quarterback. People are going to take him higher purely based off of his position. I would wait until there are multiple quarterbacks that have true first-round grades on them. Move up and go get that guy. Mike McCarthy, I don't care how good of a roster you build. Unless you build the Philadelphia Eagles from 2 years ago, a mid quarterback is not stepping into a team and winning a Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. Unless you have that guy, it doesn't matter how good you build a roster, you're not going to win. That's all I had for you.
Man, Tim, I really like your commentary there, man. And I would definitely share my thoughts. See, and that's what I like, right? And I don't know who else out there fits that mold of what Tim said about like a Anthony Richardson. Again, understand what Tim is saying and what I'm about to say. It's not about getting the best free agent. What Tim is saying is very similar to what I said in the beginning. I don't want to spend a chunk of money on a Malik Willis, which, again, I think Malik Willis has played well in his sample size, better at Green Bay than he did at Tennessee. However, I don't know if I want to pay the type of money that he might demand, right? And it might be it's going to be under Kyler Murray, what he might demand, right? Kyler Murray, to me, is not the fit. I would rather, if they're going to get a veteran, I'd rather them go get a guy, like he said, that could be a security blanket or real competition, somebody that could step in there and play some games for you. And hey, if he doesn't work out, you hope by that time a Will Howard can come in and take over. A guy like Richardson could potentially be that type of guy, right? Understand, we're just talking about the scenario. Who's another guy that's in that kind of situation, a veteran that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, that could win you some games potentially? And I know what people are going to say, oh, and Richardson didn't do this, didn't do that. I still think there's skill there. So if you brought in a guy like that, listen to what we're saying. A guy like that just to compete with Will Howard, and you're basically saying, look, we don't want to give him the job. We want him to compete. We want a guy that can start a few games for us while we get him ready. And I wouldn't be mad at that either. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be mad at that either. Whoever that guy is. But, again, Tim is making the example of the level of free agent or level of veteran, rather, that you go get if you're basically gonna say, we want to see what Will Howard has. I'm with that as well. And we'll see. I don't want to spend a big chunk, man, on, because again, I just don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Malik Willis has played well, but it just doesn't, I don't know if he's your franchise guy. Maybe. So, yeah. I'm also will say this about what Tim said that I don't disagree with either. Let me just say this before I grab the next call. Listen, I know we're all saying wait to 27, but honestly, with Mike McCarthy, they're crowning him a quarterback whisperer, if you will. Dog, I don't care when y'all draft the quarterback. If you identify somebody in 26, go get him. That's where I'm at with it right now. None of these draft picks, whether it's 26, 25, 24, 27, if we talking future, you never know what any of these guys are going to be. You just don't. So what I'm saying as an NFL coaching staff, if you all identify somebody, even in this class, that you think that's our guy, go get him. We have nothing to lose now. If you feel like Will Howard is your guy, both Mike McCarthy and Omar Khan has talked about looking forward to working with him, make him your guy. At this point, I don't care what y'all do at quarterback when it comes to taking a chance on a younger guy. I'm all in favor because there's nothing to lose at this point. And that's just my thoughts on that. All right, we're going to grab the next call, the last call here. And again, sometimes Discord reads these names weird. You know who you are. The name in here is saying BBB, but bringing you on right now. What you got for us?
What's going on, Tim? You can hear me good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Appreciate you taking my call. I kind of just, gonna freestyle a few things because, like you said, there's not much going on. I agree with you as far as like feeling disconnected with the team because it's a whole new coaching staff, new regime. I will say though, I am interested to see how, a former coach that was in the, NFC for a while, how he tends to build his team. Because, most teams, they like to build their team to win against who's in their division. The Browns, Bengals, Ravens. That's how every division is. That's why division games are always tough. So I'm curious to see how Mike McCarthy is going to do that. Considering, he was with the Packers and the Cowboys for that long. And as far as I know, I seen today, I think on X, they spoke about Kyler Murray. And I'm definitely not interested in Kyler Murray. To me, like he just seems right off the bat, the obvious, he seems too short to play quarterback in the NFL. That's why they always would have to roll him out on bootlegs and get him outside the pocket. And he's good, when he can extend plays with his legs, but I just don't think that's the fix for us. Not saying that there's a quarterback in this draft that, it's not a very strong draft. And the same way, I felt the same way when we, drafted Kenny Pickett. And you being a Madden guy, you're gonna catch this reference, but when you drafted on Madden and you hear the people in the background, they say, this is gonna set us back 10 years. And that's literally what I heard in my head when we drafted Kenny Pickett. I mean, that's just what it was. And I hated it, but the team, at least they did the smart thing. They moved on fast from him, And as far as taking a quarterback, like you said, if they see a guy they like, hey, go for it. Because Mike McCarthy being a, offensive coach, I am a little more optimistic about as far as development on that side of the ball. And in today's NFL, you never know who's going to be the next guy. I mean, we've seen Brock Purdy. You know, I know the Chiefs, they did move up from Mahomes, but I mean, we never thought he would be that, you know. So, hey, I'm cautiously optimistic. That's how I would say my mindset is this off season. But I'm just hoping, man, that we can at least take a step this year. And when I mean step, I mean like a step in to the future. Cause we've been in limbo for this past 6-7 years where we just been like, are we going all in again or are we not? Are we rebuilding or no? And we, like you said, Mr. Rooney, I don't agree with him with that whole no rebuilding mindset, because you gotta rebuild. You can't keep putting miles on the same car. You're gonna have to pull over in a pit stop sooner or later. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say, man. I appreciate you taking my call.
Man, absolutely appreciate you calling, man. Anytime any of you guys call in, I love hearing you guys' voices as well. That's the one thing, man, when you're doing basically a one-man podcast, and, of course, shout outs to my brother Kenya when he comes on. It's always good to hear other voices and other perspectives and have that back and forth interaction. So thank you as much as you thank me. But yeah, man, I'm going to comment on last little half that you said, like, with the whole Mike McCarthy thing. Don't get it twisted, guys, because I'm saying I feel disconnected. And when Mike McCarthy was hired, I didn't necessarily want that hire because I felt like it was more of the same instead of the Steelers doing more of the same and going young and giving a guy his first shot. I felt like it was more status quo with the Mike McCarthy hire. But once he got hired, I was like, all right, he's the coach now. One thing that I am excited about, Mike McCarthy has had outstanding offensive production. Say what you will about the Cowboys and, they didn't win this, they didn't win that, and all of them straight, back-to-back seasons of 12-4. But I'm telling you right now, if you're telling me, and again, this is a but if you were to tell me that the Steelers are going to have the offensive production that the Cowboys had under Mike McCarthy, I will take that in a New York minute, bro. Quick. Give me that. Because I think whatever defense we put out on the field would be able to compete if they got offense like that. Bold statement. If the Pittsburgh offense can hum anywhere close to what, and again, personnel matters. I'm just saying, if our offense can produce numbers and stats and all of that the same way McCarthy had the Cowboy offense producing, I know quarterback. I get it, guys. I'm just saying, sign me up for that duty. I take that in a heartbeat. That makes the Steelers contenders in my book, because I know we'll defensively be good enough to compete with other teams when we have offensive production like that. So I am not down on the possibilities, but I need to know. We need to know who's quarterbacking this thing. Who's catching the footballs? What does the offensive look, the whole lineup look like? What does it consist of? What style are we running? Mike McCarthy is known, he's more of a West Coast guy. But that's why I'm not ragging on Mike McCarthy, because, again, he's proven. He's an offensive guy. He's had his hand in, all pro quarterbacks. That's why it's so important to see what the Steelers are going to do and how they're going to approach the quarterback position. It is beyond important. So we'll see. Oh, looks like we had a Wonder Bread from my good brother, Why Diggy. Appreciate that, man. Round of applause. Why Diggy says, no more QB drafts before 2020. We've done that. We done with that. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's strange, man. The funny thing is, it's not strange for many football teams, right? We had the pleasure of having a Ben Roethlisberger for as long as we did, even though he wasn't the same guy later in his career. And then after that, we're now starting to experience what other teams go through until they find their guy. But I was going to say it's a shame that we're still sitting here talking about quarterback in Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, this is a crazy thing, man. And hopefully we find somebody in the next couple years. Because, again, even if it is Will Howard, right, I'm not expecting astronomical things from him in this first year playing. I just want them to find somebody and think that they have the guy and take the necessary time to bring them along. Maybe in year 2 or 3, he's ready to go in terms of, all right, got some seasons under his belt. Now he's at a point where he's running the show. But they have to start that process like now. Stop waiting. Stop waiting. And that's my only beef. But yeah, that's all I got, man. I'll give you guys a few minutes more in the chat, see if y'all got anything. Leonard says, quoting Jay-Z, yeah, we off that. Absolutely, man. We off that, for sure. What else y'all got? Anything else? Anything else? Steeler Cards had one from earlier. He says, if we didn't have Will Howard on the roster, I'd be okay with spending a mid-round pick on Alar. But it doesn't make sense to draft another project when you already have one. Okay. Yeah, I hear Alar is, how you pronounce his name? Is it Alar or Alar? I'm not sure. Y'all know what we're talking about, the Penn State kid. I'm hearing him getting some praise online, from his combine. I don't know how good or bad he did. A lot of times, man, these are people just giving their opinion, so I don't put a lot of stock, in just social media posts, but apparently he's getting a lot of praise for his performance at the combine. But, the combine is a combine, Your performance to me is what you did on the football field. I don't care about the combine personally in terms of quarterbacking, right? The combine to me is where I get to see how much of a freakish athlete a kid is, especially guys in skill positions, how fast they run the 40, how fast they run the cone drill and all that type of stuff, and broad jump and vertical. Like, you get to see what type of physical freak they are and the athleticism that you can see that. You can see the route running, in open field. Again, you see a lot of these guys as far as receivers in game, but when you see it in a combine setting, you see the fluidity of it, how easy it is for these guys to move in and out. I look at stuff like that. But when it comes to quarterbacking, there's absolutely, I promise y'all, there's absolutely nothing a quarterback can show me in a combine that makes me feel any better about him. Better or worse, to be honest with you. If I've watched your tape and you perform well, that's what I need to see. You could have an off day at the combine. Or you could go out there in the combine and make outstanding throws with no pressure, no defense, no pads, no helmet. Doesn't matter to me. A quarterback can't prove anything to me at the combine. Your tape is what I look at. So, I say all that to say, who cares about the workout these guys had at the combine from a quarterback position? That don't tell me nothing. I need to see how you play when the bullets is flying, bro. That's when it matters. Trying to get my water in, man. Just got back from the gym before the show started. What y'all got, man? Anything else? Anything else before I raise up out of here? What y'all got? I don't think y'all got much more. So if y'all don't have nothing, I don't have nothing. But yeah, man, I'm surprised we were able to get, what are we at, 50 minutes of content out of tonight, because I didn't have much to talk about. Again, next week we should have a little more going on. Free agency officially starts. Let me see. Let me check the date. I want to say free agency. Hold on. Hold up. It starts on March the 11th, the day that I'm heading out to Carousel. So the tampering period will begin, 3 days before? So the tampering period, if it starts on the 11th, well, it might be 2 days. So at least by that Monday, Sunday night into Monday, we'll hear some of the tampering and intentions to sign and all of that stuff. And then on the 11th, like I said, guys, I'm going to be heading to Carousel for a well-needed vacation. We'll be there from the 11th to the 16th. But like I said, looking at the calendar, everything works out. I will not miss a Tuesday, if you will. So we'll definitely be able to have at it in terms of the show. But outside of that, guys, if y'all don't have anything else, I don't have anything else. And that's all I got for you lovely people, man. So outside of that, listen, if you enjoyed the show, if you like what you saw here tonight, make sure you show your love and hit that like button. Share the video out on socials, subscribe, all the above. Y'all know the routine. Outside of that, man, the PSA, yes, absolutely. March 9th will be a great day. Mark Cunningham is always a great day of music pleasure for me on March 9th. Some of y'all will understand that. And outside of that, man, listen, y'all know the PSA. Make sure you guys stay safe out there. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world right now, either our country or others. So just do y'all best, man. Stay safe out here. Stay healthy. God bless and good night. Like always, I thank each and every one of you all for tuning in, and I shall catch you guys in the next one. Peace.